Welcome everyone to the last video of this three-part series of me trying to get back from Okayama to Yokohama by using only local trains. And like I said before, the train lines in JR Central have very good form. And okay, you might be like, what does that mean? You can see how the tracks are literally just straight. It just keeps on going in a single direction. And this is really rare if you usually live in places like Tokyo or Yokohama, because these railroads in larger cities had to be placed in pre-established cities, urban areas, which meant that it had to wind around a lot. But then these trains, it just goes in a straight line and it goes through these fields like nothing is blocking it, and that allows these trains to go at a really exceptionally high speed for a local train. And now we are stopping at Gamagori Station, and now towards the right you'll be able to see a freight train. This is what a typical freight train in Japan looks like. It does not have two layers to it like it does in North America, and it's not as long as it is in North America as well, but it's still fairly impressive. And towards the left, now you can see a Meitetsu train again. This is the train that competes with JR Central between Toyohashi and Gifu. At the right, that train was a JR train. And you might be wondering, okay, why are they running together, right? Because Meitetsu, or the Nagoya Railroad Company, is supposed to be the rival of Japan Rail. It's because as you approach Toyohashi, in Toyohashi Station, Meitetsu, or the Nagoya Railway Company, was not able to build their own station, which is why they borrow a certain section within the station. And leading into that station, obviously, if you're trying to use the Toyohashi Station that's been built by Japan Rail, then you would also have to use the rails that lead to that station as well, which is why Meitetsu, or the Nagoya Railway Company, has decided to borrow two tracks. These two tracks are actually called the Ida Line. It goes to a different place. But then for the last 3 to 5 kilometers or so of the Meitetsu line, it actually runs on the track of Japan Rail, which is really interesting, because I think there are instances where train lines will go into another company. Like for example, that happens a lot in Tokyo, where the subway system actually sometimes might run their trains directly into the JR system. But this is a really rare case where the Meitetsu line is considered a completely different train line, yet it still uses part of the established JR system to accommodate its needs. Now we've arrived at Toyohashi, and now I'm running. There's a reason why I'm running. It's because we need to get onto the next train that will go towards Hamamatsu. It's still on the same line, the Tokaido-Line, but you just need to transfer, just because you can't make one train go for hundreds of kilometers, because in the end it is a commuter train. So yes, I'll be transferring to the Tokaido-Line. And the reason why everyone is running is because there's only one train that you can transfer onto, and then everyone wants to sit their ass down. So yes, this is the local train heading for Hamamatsu. Now we're getting into the train. And just like I did with the other train, I also want to introduce to you what the washroom looks like. It's at the edge of the car, and you can't smoke here. The lock is slightly more analog or old-fashioned compared to the other train. And yes, you can't smoke. And this is what it looks like. And there's also toilet paper available for you. And this is Hamanako, Lake Hamana. This is where you can catch a lot of eel, basically. And in this section, the tracks that you see on the other side are actually the Shinkansen, or the bullet train tracks. And this is not part of the lake. This is part of the river that leads from the lake into the sea. Yes, just on the other side, or if I were to film in the other direction, you can actually look at the Pacific Ocean. It's actually a very beautiful lake, and if you do have the opportunity to ride on the Tenryu Hamanako line at one point, you can get a really nice view of Lake Hamana. And before we even know it, we've arrived at Hamamatsu. This is what the train looks like. This is type 313, if I remember correctly. And this type of train only exists in the JR Central system. It's bound to get replaced by a new type, which I think is called type 315 in the very near future. And our next train will take us to Numazu, and we'll be riding the type 213 train. Actually, no, I lied. We'll be taking a type 313 train, and the reason why I said 215 train is because 3 cars are type 313, the one I'm riding right now, and the other 3 are the type composed of type 215 trains. So 2 different types of trains are connected together to form a train of 6 cars. And I think I just took this clip just because I could get a really nice view of Mount Fuji. It's really difficult to see on film, but then on the far side of, in the central part of this clip, you can see Mount Fuji, and it was glowing in like a red kind of color when I was able to see it. And now we're passing Fuji River. We are slowly but steadily approaching Numazu, and from Numazu we'll be transferring onto another train that will be bound to Utsunomiya. This is actually not Numazu Station. I think this is another station. Basically an accident happened, so I had to step onto this train. But then we'll be taking a green car, or an upper class car. And this is what the upper deck looks like. You can see that it's probably very different compared to most commuter trains that you see in Japan, especially in Tokyo. It's a lot more comfortable, and there's an upper deck, a lower deck, and a central deck. Because I had to change trains due to an accident, I had the opportunity to ride on all 3 types. I think I have it on the clip. And this is what the seat looks like. It's very similar to what you would find on a limited express train in Japan. It has a table as well as a seat which you can recline, which is really rare in commuter trains in Japan. And there's also a coat hanger like that. And when you get on these cars, you need to tap your IC card in order to reserve your own seat. And now we're approaching Atami Station. Atami Station is similar to Maebara in that it acts as the border between 2 railway companies. In this case, we will be ending our journey on JR Central, and we'll be moving on to JR East. JR East is probably the largest railway company in Japan by far, as it covers Tokyo all the way up to Aomori, which is right before Hokkaido. And now we've entered the Tanna Tunnel. Before this tunnel opened, the Tokaido-Line actually went on the other side of Mount Fuji towards Gotemba, so that was a really large detour. But thanks to this tunnel, now we can get a shortcut and go from Atami to Numazu really quickly. Okay, so this is what the middle deck or the central deck looks like. I'm just trying to recline the seat over here, and you can do it just like most other limited express trains, but this is a commuter train like I said before. And I can't show you the rest of the car just because there are quite a few other people, and the table is shaped slightly different as the one formerly shown, just because I had the front row, so you can't put it on the seat in front of you. And here we are in Odawara Station, and we've entered Kanagawa Prefecture, so we're really approaching Yokohama at this point.
線直通宇都宮行きです。グリーン車は4号車と5号車です。グリーン車をご利用の際にはグリーン券を車内でお買い求めの場合、駅での発売予定となりますのでご了承ください。
And this is what it looks like in the lower deck. You can see that the coloring of the seat is identical to that of the central deck, but then the view is quite different just because you're that much lower. And this is where you tap your IC card in order to make a reservation, and you also have a seat lamp or a reading lamp that you can use. And here we are, we've finally arrived at Yokohama. The trip, I think, took about 12 hours in total, and I tried my best to squeeze it to a video that is easy for most people to watch, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and you can catch me again on my next trip.